What made you ghost a friend? When I came home to find the power off, bill hadn't been paid. We were friends from work. He had split up from his ex, and I needed to be closer to work. We went 50-50 on a rental. He has 3 kids from the previous relationship. With me being the nerd, I agreed to pay the tech bills, internet, phone, cable TV. He agreed to pay the power as he burned more because his kids were over on access visits. Came home. Dark house. Investigate. He hadn't paid the power for ages because his new girlfriend wanted the money. Then I discovered he wasn't paying his rent either. Same reason. Down $5k. Power. Rent. We were evicted. Ghosted. Deleted. Yup. I had him contact me on the Book of Faces. Can we talk? Sure. Sent me a $5k bank check. And we're on. We had been friends for years. Like long-term sisterhood kind of shit. I did so much for her over the years and didn't even bat an eyelash. I asked her to watch my cat while I went on a 10-day vacation. A cat that she also loved because it belonged to her family before me. She agreed to watch the cat. I even called her about 4 days into my vacation to ask her again to go and check on my cat to make sure it had food/water and a few scritches. When I came home, my cat's water and food bowl were bone dry, and she let out the most tormenting meows I have ever heard. My friend didn't check on her once in the 10 days that I was gone. She played stupid when I confronted her about it and said, "Oh, I completely forgot." That was the beginning of the end. Edit. As for ghosting her, I had to. After the cat incident, she tried to make me feel guilty for being mad at her for it. I think I even ended up apologizing because she was so beside herself. A few more disagreements accrued after that, and I was always put on a guilt trip. I decided that I didn't need that negativity in my life anymore, and I ghosted her. To this day she tries to get back to me, even through mutual friends. She badmouths me, then tells them how much she misses me. Chick is whack. WTF. I'm not the greatest friend, but I would say no if I'm not sure I can check on the cat every day. I didn't even ask her to check on the cat every day. I left out an extra large food/water bowl for my cat while I was gone. I asked her to check on the cat once, if she could manage. She assured me that it would be easy, and I believed her because it was a very simple thing to ask. Makes my blood boil to this day. I should have made other arrangements, but at the time I didn't know she was an asshole. That just opened my eyes to the kind of friendship we had. She started hanging out with a new friend. That's fine. I'm not her only friend. Then while we were hanging out, as pre-planned, she would leave to go hang out with her new friend. Then she'd break plans with me to hang out with her, all while tagging her on Facebook so none of it was being hidden. 3 years later she reaches out to me and apologizes. It's genuine as she mentioned insightful things she would have no way of knowing unless she had grown and been very honest with herself. We are friends for another 2 years when she starts to hang out with another new friend. Repeat. Same thing happened, but with my best friend, and whenever she got a new boyfriend, the disappointment hurts less the second time, but it still sucks knowing that they really didn't change. I agree that the disappointment hurt less the second time. It still hurt, but at the same time I wasn't surprised, so I just accepted it and moved on. The pain is still there, but I've accepted it. Started talking shit about me to my GF and best mate. His dad had a history of drinking problems, and he was starting to exhibit the same behavior. So I suggested we should both take a break from drinking for a while and try to focus on some healthier shit. He apparently took that as I'm not the same person and my GF was the person who changed me. Sounds like somebody didn't want to be held responsible for his own actions, and it cost him his friend. Pretty much. But I'm better off without him, and maybe after that happened he is too. Getting ditched every time there's a new guy on the scene, but being expected to be there the second it all breaks down. Ducking being there. So annoying, isn't it? When I realized a lot of the things that made her laugh were at my expense, she thrived off of humiliating me. I was bullied at school, but my worst bully was my best friend. I used to come home and cry to my mom. I would be heartbroken over how my best friend was treating me. Honestly, I don't remember what my mom would tell me, but I wish she would have told me that I was worth way more than the treatment that I received from her. That she was a bad friend and I should drop her. That I had friends who treated me with respect and that I should spend my time with them. That she would have forbade me from hanging out with her. Anything. Anything. I wasted something like 15 years with that girl in that abusive friendship. My daughter, bless her heart, had a similar story. Unfortunately, I don't really feel empathy right now, but I'm seeing people to try and help. In a hoe, I told her, if your friends make you feel like crap all the time, maybe they are not your friends. But before you just stop a friendship, talk with them if it's important to you, and I'll support you either way. The good girl she is talked with her friend. Turns out her brother was depressed and suicidal and the poor girl didn't know how to handle it and was lashing out at everyone. I'll be honest here. Some of the stuff my daughter's friend said made me very angry, but I took some time to think the situation over, then talked with my daughter. Slept with other friends GF out of spite. SMH. That's outrageous. It's unfair. When you realize that they're never really there for you, and your friendship only breeds passive aggressiveness and envy. This jealousy and envy creates an environment where it's hard to trust or enjoy friendship with someone. When I realized the relationship was one-sided and they only cared about themselves. Yeah, I had a relationship that was really great for a while, but over time I realized they just didn't care much for me anymore. It was always them needing something. I just got out of a relationship like that just before quarantine. 3 years of living together, building a life, and exploring, all for her to decide she'd rather be single because her coworkers told her she should be. Like, duck. I guess I didn't mean that much after all. I loved this girl. She was so clutch for me when my life was in ruins. The issue was that she and I were both addicts at the same time and both came from the same types of affluent families. But for whatever reason, I got clean and I turned my life around while she got worse. She and I were both addicts with eating disorders, alcoholism, and both addicted to Xanax. I got clean and only recently, 7 years later, have started experimenting with maybe 1 or 2 beers per month if I'm out with my husband. She ended up with this awful guy who she will not give up, who got her hooked on meth. I was there for her for a long time. After rehab and a few arrests, she stayed at my house for a bit on 2 different occasions. But the last time she did, she tore my house apart looking for alcohol, which we didn't have. Stole my ID so she could get Postmates to deliver vodka to my house, and nearly got us both killed by grabbing and yanking my steering wheel while I was going 80 miles per hour up I-95. I've tried so many times to help her get and stay clean, but she keeps going back to that guy and her triggers are my triggers. I had to distance myself because she was making me relapse. But you also know, she won't accept help from anyone until she's ready. I know it hurts and it hurts to watch. I've gone through it myself with a friend. Unfortunately, it's out of our control. On the other hand, go you gaining control of your own life, and I hope you're around people that are better for you. I do know that, which is why I'll always be here for her when she's ready to get clean and finally kick this guy to the curb. But until then, I can't keep putting my life or my family at risk for her. I love her, but I have to love her from far away until she makes that choice for herself and sticks to it. She burned the bridge. For most of the year and a half that she and I started working at the same place, she bullied me, micromanaged me, made me feel left out, and gaslighted me whenever I tried to confront her behavior. It was almost always my fault. Nothing I ever did was right, and she refused to believe that she has control issues or that she was using me as a punching bag. She started doing this thing where she wouldn't text me unless I texted her first, and then get mad if I didn't text her. So, once she quit the job, I stopped texting her. I haven't spoken to her at all since August 2019, and I don't regret it. Rather narcissistic behavior. I'm not diagnosing or anything, but yeah, no, I wouldn't want to be around anyone like that. Every conversation was about them and their lives. They rarely asked or were interested in what I had going on. The selfishness was just too much after a while. I invited an old friend for lunch a couple months back and this is exactly how it went. We've more or less gone our own paths, so we have different friends and schedules etc. But at one point we were best friends. Amongst other stuff. This just solidified my decision to let things die off naturally. She didn't ask a single question about me when there's plenty to go off of, but I listened to a lot about her. She was really interested when it came to my jobs and how much I was making. I know the feeling. I had a friend that we were really close from about 12 years old to our late 30s, and not once has she ever asked how my day went. I have a friend who I probably should have stopped talking to long before I did, but his escapades include / slept with my ex of 3 years a week or so after we broke up / got really handsy with my sister against her will at my 21st / just being a general creep to girls for a long time edit. To clarify, I do not talk to this person anymore and these were the events that definitely turned the tide almost immediately. There were other, less serious things prior. Solidarity. Haven't talked to my best friend after he slept with my fiancée of 3 years. The rest of my exes, I wouldn't have cared, but she was the person I was gonna marry, and the breakup was super messy. Day before we were gonna fly out for a week to a resort for my birthday. Tickets and room paid for, and she says she doesn't feel the same way anymore and leaves. Got over her, but she'll always be the one that got away for me. Then to hear from her that she slept with him a few years later, rough. You're not alone, man. Sorry that happened to you too. Shouldn't ever happen to anyone. Hope you're better off now, mate. When I realized she was maybe my best friend, but I was not her. In fact, I was only useful to her. That realization hits like a sledgehammer if you encounter some event or outing where you expected an invite and the friend just acted like you didn't exist. I've always been there. If there's no better off a friend, they'll plan to do something with me until something they'd rather do comes up, then they'd do that. Without me, of course. People are stupid, selfish and cruel. I've been alone without anyone I call a friend for years now. Better than fake friends, but it's still a miserable existence. He knocked on my door one night and said let's go for a drive. This wasn't that odd, since I love driving to cool my head. So we start driving, and maybe 10 minutes in, he starts directing me on where to go. He asks me if I mind making a quick stop. I'm annoyed but say sure. We end up at this sketchy house in the middle of nowhere, and my buddy goes inside, but tells me to wait in the car. Almost 45 minutes later he comes back out and says we got to go to the bar. It takes me about 10 seconds to realize this pose went in there to get coke and was already high. So I tell him that I'm not feeling it tonight and drop him off at his place. Spoke to him once after that when he wanted to hang, and I told him I'm nobody's errand boy. Never gave a shit if he got the message because I haven't spoken to him since. I'm surprised you actually waited for so long outside. I enjoy my solitude, and he said he owed the guy money. Didn't say what it was for though. I had assumed it was his bookie. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more daily Reddit videos.